This week I'm going to introduce you to a new editor, and this editor is called Atom. Atom does exactly what you've been doing in Notepad++, but it just has more bells and whistles, and so it's time to move ahead into some more some better editors that do a little bit more than Notepad++. So let's just dig in and I'll show you what I mean. So in order to download the editor, it's free, so don't worry about that. It is at this website, the URL atom.io, and if you navigate to that address, you'll be able to see the download right from here. You'll get the download. So on the left-hand side, you'll see that I have the editor up. This is Atom, and I have, instead of a single file now, you start working in projects, and you start thinking about, and we've got lots of different assets. We've got things that we've been working on with different HTML pages and style sheets and images. So now we're going to start thinking about these things as a project. And so I have opened the folder. In other words, I went to File, Open Folder, instead of Open File now, Open Folder. And when I went to Open Folder, I navigated to this Videos folder, which has currently a folder, CSS, and images in it. And I selected the folder. And so now all of my files will be visible within this folder, and I'm thinking of it as a project instead of just individual files that I kind of bunched together. And so things are going to get a little bit more organized, as you can see. I've got CSS folder and I've got an images folder, and in my images folder I currently have 2 kitten pictures. So these are going to be part of my project apparently, so I'm going to start organizing it. Now this organization isn't unique to Atom. I mean, you could have done that in Notepad++, but I want us to start thinking about a little bit more organization as I'm demonstrating Atom. So that's why I've kind of included it here. All right, so on top of whatever we have here, Atom has the ability to add plugins or additional packages, and there's thousands of them, and they're written by people out in the world. It's shareware, so it's something that is available to anybody. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go here to File, and I'm going to go to Settings, and I'll make this bigger so we can see the whole thing. And what you're going to find here is some things of interest, and that is there's themes and packages. So these are ways to enhance, to make your workflow easier. And I'll again show you what I mean. Right off the bat, if you click on this themes option, you'll see that there's multiple different themes that you can select from. So these themes are themes that have already been installed. Some of these are installed beforehand and we can add to them. So there's different themes that you can play with, and I encourage you to play around with the different ones. These are themes that are already installed, and these are packages that are already installed. So this is where I would go to see things that are already installed, and I'll come back to this in a minute. I want to install some packages. In other words, I want to enhance or add some additional plugins, if you will. So one I'm going to install, and I encourage you to, I think you'll like it, is this one called Emmet, E-M-M-E-T. And this is where you look for packages that you might want to add on to your Atom editor. This is a good one. Now I think mine is already installed, and so therefore I have the option to uninstall it, and there's additional settings that you can play with. But if you're new to this and this is your first time, then look for this Emmet package and go ahead and click Install. Once you do that, and we go back to Packages, you'll see that there's my installed. So community packages are ones that I have installed, and then there's core packages that came out of the box with Atom when I downloaded it. And so these are 3 that I think you might want to download, and I'll show you how they work in a minute. So I have Atom-Beautify. So if you want to install that, under this Install tab, search for Atom.Beautify and install that. Live Server, and then also Emmet. So once you've downloaded those, I'm going to close out this Settings tab and show you how those things might come into play. All right, and so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder. So under this Videos folder, I'm going to do a new, it's not new folder, I said new folder, new file, and I'm going to create my index.html. And so now I have this blank sheet, and you know that there's just a basic skeleton that we need in order to create any HTML page. Well, now with Emmet gives us shortcuts. meaning that, or snippets as they call it. So if I type in, oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention, HTML, you'll see that there's this pop-up that comes up and an arrow, a green arrow, which is indicating a tab. So because I have this saved as an index.html file, it won't work if you didn't save it with the extension HTML. So I'm saving it, and now I'm just going to hit the tab key. That's what this indicates. So if I hit the tab key, oh, nothing exciting happened. Let me try that again. It should have HTML5. Nope, maybe I'm doing the wrong one. Each editor does it a little bit differently. Maybe I'm doing it. Okay, I had to hit the enter key. So when I hit the enter key, then things already automatically came up for me, which is kind of cool. So I didn't have to type all that stuff in. So I guess what I also didn't show you, well, I'll do it as I go. All right, so now I'm going to I want a H1 tag. So I'm going to type in H1 and tab, and it filled it in for me. That's great. And you see this blue circle? This blue circle indicates that this page isn't saved yet. So I'm going to save it with a Control S. Now you see the blue circle go away. All right, so now let's also I'm going to do a div tag with an ID. So I'm going to do a div. Now here's where Emmet kicks in. So I'm also going to do it's going to be an ID of container. So I'm going to put the hashtag, and then what I want my ID to be. I want it to be container. Now I hit tab, and it fills it in for me. So that was kind of cool. You could do the same thing with classes. So if I had done this as a class, div, and then class container, if that's what I'd wanted to do, same scenario. All right, so Emmet gives you snippets or shortcuts. So if you want to learn more about Emmet, then just do a search on Emmet, and you'll find a whole page of Emmet and all kinds of the shortcuts that you can make utilizing Emmet to make your workflow a little bit faster. So that's kind of the idea here. In Atom, we can do a lot of package add-ons that makes our job, our workflow a little bit easier. All right, so another package I showed you to download was Beautify. So I'm going to right click on my text here, and now that I've installed Beautify, this menu item has shown up, and that says Beautify Editor Contents, or Alt-Control-B. So if I use this option, which is a package that we just installed, then you can see that it's doing all of that indenting for me. So things are getting cleaned up and I don't have to worry about it. So if I make kind of a mess and I don't indent properly, I can use Beautify to help get that all cleaned up. Sweet. All right. So the last one that I asked you to install, I'm going to make this bigger, try to bring these back together. Okay, so the last one I asked you to install was that live server one. So let me do a demonstration of that. So live server installs itself under packages. So I'm going to go to packages and Atom live server and start the server now. So when I do that, I now have a server that's running on my local machine. And what that means is if I type in something like my web page and I hit save, Control S and save, the server is paying attention. This is automatically updating my page for me, so I can see live updates of things that I'm changing. So let's do this. Let us add, I'm going to add a CSS page. So I don't currently have any files in my CSS folder, but in here is where I'm going to keep my style sheet. So I'm going to right click on that folder and choose new file. I'm going to create a style.css page. Okay, so there's my style CSS page. Let's just do something simple, body, and I'm going to do background color green. See how it's trying to help me out with suggestions there. So let's see, now I need to attach that style sheet to my index page. So I'm going to come back in here. Now I have a folder I have to acknowledge. So I'm going to do, it's a link, and just hit tab. Fills in the relationship style sheet for me, and the cursor sitting on what is the href that I need in order to get to that style sheet. So in order to dig down to the folder where the style is, the style page, I'm going to have to do CSS / so I indicate the folder name as relationship, as a relationship from where the index file is. So the index file is in the root, which is the videos folder. So from the root, from me, go forward to the next folder, which is CSS, and then to the styles. So style.css and Control S to save, and now I can see that that is working pretty well. What else do I want to do? Well, now I want to add one of these images. So I'm going to type in the word image, IMG. I can see my little pop-up there with the green tab, so I'm going to tab. Great, source is equal to, again, I need to drill down to images / and then I'll put in kitten.jpg. When I hit tab, it went right to the alt, so I can do kitten picture, and then I'm going to save, and there's my kitten picture. So pretty slick. Things makes our workflow a little bit easier. And as I'm typing this, I just thought of another package which would be really neat to download. Let me do this. I have this, when I move my cursor over the middle area between these two panes, I can make that project tree disappear, or I can bring it back to give myself a little bit more real estate. That's kind of handy. I can also, if I click on the word style, or I'm going to click on style and hold on to it. Now I've not let my mouse go, and I'm going to, you can see that shaded area. So if I let go right now, that I can see these images or these files on top of each other. I can do similarly. I'm going to drag it to the right. You can see that shaded area, and so now I have them side by side. That's pretty handy. But there's another package that I want to share with you, which is also kind of fun. I'm going to go back to settings, and let me make this one go away. Install, and I think it was called Pigments. Let me do a search for Pigments, and there's the one that I was looking for. And so now what you can do is you can install Pigments, and I'll let it run. Hopefully it runs fairly quickly. It did not run quickly, so I put it on pause, and now I'm back. Now it's done installing, and what Pigments gives us is the ability to, I'm going to go back to my index. No, I'm not. I'm going to open up my project tree here and click on style.css that I closed out earlier. And Pigments, there we go. Once it kicked in, it took a minute for it to take effect. Now when I type in something here, let's do yellow, it gives me an indication of what color that's supposed to be. I need to save it. There we go. If you go into your settings, so I'm going to go back to File and Settings, and I go into the packages that I've installed. I'm going to make my project tree minimized here. And in my packages, if I look under Pigments and I go to Settings, you can scroll down here, and some of these packages give you more options. And it always takes me a while to find these, so there's lots of settings. Here we go. Marker type. So under marker type, I'm going to click on this one, and there's different ways that the color is indicated. And we saw that the color yellow was on the background highlighted of the word color. So I'm going to try native dot and see what this does. All right, so I'm going to close out my settings, and now you can see the color is showing up in a dot beside of it. So if I did something as a, I don't even know if that's a real number. We're about to find out. I just made something up. Apparently that's not a number, so I'll do one that I know. There's FF 1, 2, 3, 4. And so by doing that, I should see the dot. There it is, and you can see it changed in here. So that's also a nice little tool that you can use to show color. Anyway, so that's Atom. I think you'll find it much more fun and lots more bells and whistles, and it's easy to get lost in all the different available packages that are available to you. But this is a great thing that you should try and throw yourself into a new comfort zone and try to do what you've already been doing, but now do it in a new editor.